Mr. Speaker, we are now 16 days into a government shutdown and standing on the precipice of defaulting on our debt. Families around the country are worrying if they will be able to pay their water bills. But the member's gym has stayed open during the government shutdown, so my colleagues can live rent-free in their offices and use the gym to shower and shave. One of my colleagues, using his office as a Holiday Inn, has nearly 43,000 households on SNAP in his district. These people don't have the option of curling up in a government building or getting dinner at a congressional reception to cut costs. But my colleague does. The only inconvenience for him is that his office doesn't have a kitchen. So he stocks his office annex with a crock pot, an electric griddle, a microwave, a toaster, and a refrigerator. And he told CBS News, quote, "You can put some frozen chicken in with some bouillon, some vegetables, let it simmer all day, and you're ready to rock and roll." Well, Mr. Speaker, the U.S. economy is not ready to rock and roll as long as Congress refuses to pay the government's bills. America's small businesses are not ready to rock and roll when the markets worry that we will default and not pay the bills that we have already incurred. The American people are not ready to rock and roll when they don't know when the government will reopen to provide them with the services that they have already paid for but are not receiving. The House of Representatives is not a campsite. It is embarrassing that Americans have been kicked out of Yosemite and national parks across the country, yet members sleep in their offices that taxpayers foot the bill for. As this government shutdown is, however, the debate over the debt ceiling is taking this dysfunction nuclear. A default would bring an economic catastrophe that would cost Americans who have been prudent with their money, paying their debts and investing in their 401ks, billions of dollars in lost value in their investments, in their homes, in their jobs, and in increased lending rates. Every American here, every American in this country knows that every member of the House of Representatives makes 4 times the amount of money that they do. We are paid to come up with solutions for the American people, not to sabotage their 401ks. This is what Warren Buffett said last week about trying to use the debt ceiling as a political ploy. Quote, "It should be like nuclear bombs, basically too horrible to use. In military terms, it's known as MAD, mutually assured destruction. Some on the other side of the aisle seem intent on pushing the button and sending our economy into a nuclear winter." Debt ceiling deniers have now emerged espousing the belief that the debt ceiling is a figment of our imagination, that it's a part of a liberal agenda to get them to the negotiating table. Quote, "We're not going to default. There is no default." Or, quote, "We shouldn't accept this as the date beyond which we can't go without what they call default. We can go a long time. We can go indefinitely without hitting default," says another. Mr. Speaker, a reckless faction of your party is not only holding your caucus hostage, it's holding the American people and the global economy hostage. Calling the dealings with this faction is, quote, is absurd. The reality is there is no negotiating with this reckless faction, which seems bent on the destruction of the American economy and the full faith and credit of the United States. Mr. Speaker, these members who are sleeping in their offices should be thinking of all the Americans who will be sleeping in the streets if this reckless Republican faction gets its way.